So far we done with the core Java, Spring Core, JDBC, ORM, AOP. Okay, let's park it aside. We will discuss later. We will start with Spring MVC. Okay, we'll start with Spring MVC so that at least we can make simple applications end to end. Okay, end to end applications we can do. And during Spring Boot, we will discuss these modules, transactions, and security. Okay, so if I, yeah, for authentication and authorization, some libraries given. Okay, sure. So we'll go with MVC. Okay, let's see AOP. Okay, hmm. Yeah, okay. You want to ensure order of advices. Okay, so I think we should able to use order. Uh, I will check it. Okay, but that question is valid. Yeah. So maybe first security if you want to see. Yeah. Go ahead. Hmm. Disable. Uh-huh. If you don't want. Hmm. Okay. Got it. So maybe programmatically when we apply this aspect, right, auto proxy in boot somewhere, you need to disable that annotations maybe for your production, or if there is any, yeah. See, if you want to disable it, maybe that in XML file aspect is a auto proxy we are applying it, right? So if you disable that in XML approach, automatically it will stop creating proxies. Okay, yeah, you can do through the code, but yeah, I'm thinking it in a different way. Like any arguments, if I change, automatically will it disable it or not? Let me take that questions. One is uh, order, ordering of aspects. Okay, what is the next question? uh, During okay, based on environment. So uh, that is also good. Yeah, but yeah, but no, so you think it in this way. Okay, one business class is having multiple aspects. One is security. Okay, one is logging, and the other one is something else, transaction something. Okay. So I don't want to execute this transaction logging before security. First, the security should execute it. Without security, even I don't want to allow to log or transaction. Okay. Security, just 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 imagine something. If you want to validate data or validate the user one more time before proceeding to the business. No, no, just talking about a use case. I want to execute them in an order. Okay. I have some aspects. On that aspects, I want to execute one aspect which is doing log maybe first. After this log, the next one implemented transaction something that I want to execute next as a second aspect. I am sending a mail that I want to execute as a third aspect. So before log, I don't want to send mail. Before committing transactions, I don't want to say the mail, your transaction is completed. So if I don't mention order, if mail sent first and during transaction, if your operation got failed, already mail is delivered to the customer saying that your transaction is completed. So I don't want even go till there if this get fails. Okay, I want to go in a order. First aspect, second aspect, third aspect. So yeah, ordering of aspects. Okay, we'll see. For not sure. Did you try? Yeah, just make your business class final and run it. We didn't try it all this right. So you try and see, play with it. Okay. Yeah, so which is our workspace? This one, or let us see, as we got this curious doubts, right? You can create it now in Eclipse. Okay. Let's say if you are in a current workspace, let it open. I'll show you. Yeah, but you try to do with Maven only. Okay, use Maven. Don't go with this traditional approach. We did with Maven also, right? If you remember, create a Maven project and try to add same dependencies via Maven. So yeah, if you want to create new workspace, go to switch workspace and use other. Here put new workspace name, my new workspace, and click on launch. Yeah, so launch it. It will create new workspace. So then, as usual, you can go and create your project. So let's see in AOP annotations. Maybe data got deleted. It's okay. You guys try it. Okay. Uh, we'll see. New. Okay. Let's discuss MVC. Okay. So MVC module is for web implementation. Okay. To deal with front end to back end. MVC module given. Usually, before going into this MVC, we should see which architecture it is following. Okay, so that you can easily understand how the request flows from front end to back. While using Spring MVC, first step, basic Spring MVC, right? What we do, step one, we create a web project. We used to create a web project. It is not a simple project. Create a web project. And step two, we add web.xml file. By default, web.xml will be available, or you can add web.xml file. Step 3, you need to add dispatcher servlet in web.xml file. This is predefined servlet given in Spring MVC library. This servlet we need to add in web.xml file. Already implemented servlet. You need not to implement anything. Okay. And step 4, create Spring XML file using servlet name. We'll create Spring XML file by following some naming conventions, by following servlet name or using init parameters. You have to input this file to dispatcher servlet. Whatever servlet you implement, right? To this servlet, you need to pass your servlet Spring XML file as an input. There are multiple ways to do that. Okay. So till here, you need to do this setup activity, project setup activity. You need to do till here. You need to create web project, web.xml file, dispatcher servlet, and configure Spring XML file. Once done with it, you can have your front end and back end code. Okay. No, any name you can use. Here, you need to follow some naming conventions. Okay. So, yeah, our XML only, Spring XML file, which we are using in IOC, right? The same XML. The same XML we need to create. There we will have all our beans, right? Your controller or service, DAO, AOP, everything is configured here. You need to give this XML to dispatcher servlet. Earlier, I used to play with IOC. Now, IOC control we have in dispatcher servlet. IOC code is there inside dispatcher servlet. Earlier, we used to code our classes here. All our classes we used to have controllers, services, DAOs. All classes we used to put it in where Spring XML file, either via annotations or you may configure them. We used to create one Spring XML file. There we used to configure them. Then we used to load this it into IOC container. We used to create application context class. There we used to load it. But now in Spring MVC, string MVC, this application context code already placed inside a dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is having that logic. Your dispatcher servlet init method. This is a servlet, pure servlet class. In this servlet class, there is a init method. Inside this init method, already they implemented this IOC container logic, whichever you use to implement inside main method, right? That they implemented it. So now you don't have any way to go till there. You can't edit and go there and pass your XML file. Already they placed it already. They placed it here by following some naming conventions. So you need to give the Spring XML file as a input to your dispatcher servlet now. Just you need to give your Spring XML file as a input to dispatcher servlet. So dispatcher servlet will pass it into your application context and starts your IOC container. Okay. So here consider your dispatcher servlet is taking care of IOC container. Okay. So dispatcher servlet is taking care of IOC container. From now onwards, you need not to load. Is it good now? Is it okay? What about others? Prakash, can you check? Yeah. Okay. So now this, yeah, now this IOC part, right? Starting this IOC part, you can leave it for dispatcher servlet. You leave this task for dispatcher servlet. Already they implemented that logic as part of dispatcher servlet, loading your XML file and creation of objects. It will take care. You need not to worry. Earlier we used to call get bean methods and manually we used to call the methods, right? Now onwards you need not to do that. When you trigger your request from front end form views, right? From front end, when you trigger request, the request will go to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will decide which classes need to execute here backend side. Which class need to execute will be taken care by your dispatcher servlet when you submit a request. And this XML file also will be loaded into IOC by dispatcher servlet only. So now onwards, dispatcher servlet will work for us. It will call the get beans from this IOC for your request, whatever bean you required, right? When you request from front end, it will get that bean and it will call that bean class methods for you. Who do that? Dispatcher servlet will do that. Okay. So earlier we used to create our classes. We used to load them into, we used to configure them into XML and we used to load it into IOC. Then using IOC.getBean method, we used to get one class and we used to call the methods. So then that method used to take flow to next service or DAOs. Like that we practiced. Now onwards, you need not to call your controller directly. Your front end will call your controller. Who helps you to call that particular so and so controller? Dispatcher servlet will do that for you. When you submit a request from ABCD form, if you have a controller for that ABCD form, dispatcher servlet somehow it will manage. You will be doing all the configurations inside XML file, which form is coming for that form, which controller need to execute it. You will be configuring everything inside XML file. So dispatches alert will get understand when you submit this form request, it will get understand from this mapping, right? Okay, for that form, there is a controller. I need to execute it. Who do that job for you? Dispatches alert will do that job for you. Calling get beans, right? So once after getting that so and so get bean controller, calling that controller methods. So the controller dot something create or update, whatever methods you have. Who do all this stuff? Your dispatcher servlet will do this stuff for you because here front end is involved. If you take the control over it, you need to write lot of servlet and lot of algorithms you need to write. So instead you doing it, all that headache taken inside dispatcher servlet, they implemented it for you. Just you need to configure it properly. That's it. It will do that mapping for you, front end to back end. Yeah. Web application context. If you remember, there are three containers. One of its containers is web application context we use for web application. Internally, it uses this web application context. Here, which application context it is using? Web application context. Okay, this is the container that is using inside your init method of servlet. They implemented this for you. You need not to you need not to do any IOC code implementation, loading XML file, getting get bean methods. You never do that from now onwards. Who do this for you? Dispatcher servlet. Web app, yeah, web application context is for web application while using dispatcher servlet. Hmm. You see, for web application, I say web application, not a JSP. It's your, up to you. You want to use JSP here or not. You can use simple HTML also. Web application, which is web application, which used to have front end and back end HTML code involved. There, if you want to use JSPs, it's up to you. You can use web application can be combination with JSPs and HTMLs. Okay, yeah. So web application context is IOC container. That container is started inside a dispatcher servlet. All your classes are configured inside Spring XML file. This XML file will be loaded here. So when there is a request from front end, earlier we used to do the get bean and calling the that particular bean methods. Now onwards, you need not worry about it. When there is a request from front end to controller mapping also we do in XML file. Via this XML file, your dispatcher servlet get understands for that so and so form request which controller need to execute it. So it will execute that controller. From controller, the next flow, controller calls service calls DAOs, and your operation is done. End of the day. Okay, this is very high level architecture, very high level architecture to imagine how MVC works. Okay, now, yeah, go there. Hmm. Hmm. This mapping also, yes, earlier we configured only beans. Now front end to back end mapping also we will put this front end to mapping also no, not only front end to mapping, all beans also, either via stereotypes you create or manually you want to put, you can do that. Everything. Otherwise, how IOC container creates your objects. One extra thing that we are doing, yeah, one extra thing that we are doing is front end to back end mapping also. Correct. Exactly. That is what front end to back end mapping will do. Are you guys getting? Yeah. mapping. Hmm. Yes, that particular object methods. Okay, generally, yeah, we do mapping. Basically, in programmatic approach, only one method per controller we can write. One controller will have only one method, so directly form to controller we map. But there are some other styles where we can map multiple forms to one controller also. In annotations it is simple. One form to one method we map directly. One form to not only class, inside class one method, because one controller can have multiple URL methods, right? One is for create request from front end, update request or delete request. You may have multiple requests. So for that multiple request, you need not or necessarily put multiple classes. You can have one class with all the methods. But if your URLs are different, for create one different URL, update different URL, delete a different URL, how do I map multiple URLs to one class? You can do that as well. Okay. For now, let's see simple form to controller mapping, how to do, how we can justify this architecture. Okay, just remember this. Okay, after example I'll explain the depth architecture. Okay, otherwise you will get confused. Now what extra we learn from is front end to back end mapping we do in XML file, and we are wrapping one more class on top of IOC, right? Dispatcher servlet is created. You need not to write this class. Okay, this class is already implemented it. Just you need to place this class in your web.xml file. Okay, so this dispatcher servlet will expect one input from you is spring xml file, so that this xml file it will load it into IOC, and it will ready for your request. So when you submit a request from front end, then based on this front end to back end mapping, it will map your front end request to controller. First we will see how to map till class. Okay, then we will see how it will map to methods also. Okay, first learn how to pass till class, then ask a question that how we can map to methods. Okay, yeah, we go to example directly now. So once after example we discuss architecture, so that it will be simple to you. Okay, so yeah, earlier I used to write all the classes and I used to create a main method class. There I used to write IOC and test my classes by using get bean method. I used to get object and call that particular object method. That object subsequently used to call other methods. Now I implemented full length application with the front end also. Now there is no main method, no such entertainment. Your front end request should able to get a controller access when you submit a request from front end. So who do that get bean, who call your method means dispatcher servlet will do that for you. How it will understand which controller object it need to pick and which method it need to call. That mapping we do here in Spring XML file along with your beans. We are configuring beans, right, using component scan. Component scan will go and scan all the classes and it will create objects and it will keep that objects with IOC. Along with that, mapping also we are putting in XML file, so it understands that for that so and so form, which controller class should execute. So based on that mapping, it will get that particular bean object and it will call your methods. Who? Dispatches are like it do that for you. We'll see example directly. Four steps, right? Create web project, add web.xml file, and add dispatcher servlet inside web.xml file. Then write your front end and back end code, configure them in Spring XML file. Okay, let's do this. So you just need to create new project, dynamic web project, Apache Tomcat 9. What one? Okay, go to project and search here. Dynamic. You will be getting dynamic web project. If it is a Maven, search Maven. Maven model, Maven project. If it is a general project, search general or Java. Simple Java project. Because in a core Java, like core Java approach, we did all the examples with main method. Now, end-to-end use case I want to see. So simple core Java application is not sufficient. Now I need to create web project. Web project needs a Tomcat here. So you need to download Tomcat and configure it here. So your project name, new runtime I need. How do I install this directly? Next. Yeah, we need to install Tomcat. So let me. I should have this Tomcat somewhere, or else I'll download if I don't find it. Software backups. Just a minute. Yeah. Uh, what is the question? Dynamic web project only. I went to dynamic web project. Here I name the project. Okay, hello world something. Okay, then choose your target runtime. I need to install Tomcat here. I need Tomcat to run my application. So as Tomcat is not on JRE. Spring Boot you can run directly on JRE. Okay, but not this. Download and install option I should get. I am not seeing here. Windows preferences. Web. Okay. Let me download it, madam. Somewhere I download it. Mhm. Okay, marketplace. Yeah, it will take longer time. Let me install it directly. Which one? Deployer. I'm thinking fully documented core. You can download this. This is embedded. This is source code. This is binary one. PGP Windows one. Okay. Just save it. Go there. Extract it. Okay. Marketplace came. Here also you can search Tomcat. Tomcat. Search. After creation of on Tomcat only. Tomcat. We need to run. Okay. Provide simple integration of Tomcats and the deployment of Java web application. Okay, here also they given. Let me install it. Yeah. No, now I downloaded right personally. So this is available. Now you can integrate it with the ID. You take this path and integrate here directly. So go to servers. Here you will be having servers option, right? Uh, server. Here, yeah. Go to servers option. Add server first. Okay. First you need to add your server here. Go to J2W window, Tomcat server. You can add new server. Right click new server. Apache 9. Next, put your location where you have this Apache 9. Select next, finish it. So just Tomcat came here. Okay, you have Tomcat here under J2W section. Here you have the Windows, right? Open perspectives. Use J2W. J2W perspective here. When you open J2W, right side section or bottom side. Here in the bottom or right side, you can get it. Okay, if you see in the bottom, you see this uh, you know, servers icon. This one. Under that, go right click new, add server, add Tomcat server. If I start it, let's see what it do. So 8080 is already used. So I need to change my Tomcat port number. Just double click on this server. It will give you properties to change. So here I have port number 8080. Just change it to 9090. Save it. Again, go start it. There is no such tool. You can run and place it, or you can, while placing also, you can run it. Just I am checking my Tomcat is working or not. Yet application not started. Na? Just checking my server. The plain server I am starting. Okay, server started with no issues. Okay, your Tomcat server is started in port number 9090. Okay, first server setup is done. Now let's create your code. New dynamic web project. Simple hello project I'm creating. Hello world. So let's old version only I will choose. Tomcat 9 I'm picking up here. Already I have Tomcat 9. I don't want. Yeah. Next, click on finish. So one dynamic web project. Dynamic web project which used to provide dynamic web project structure here. You know, right? Web project structure. That is servlet version. That is servlet version. Servlet versions. I'm picking up old version because old library I used here first. See, this is the project default structure that provides one web.xml also given. Now, once after creation of this project, right? First step one, you need to practice it. Okay, one two times if you do, then easily you can remember. First, add Tomcat in Eclipse. Okay, for that you need to download it. Download it first. If not available, yeah, you can do that as well. Here you can run this. So then in the same place it will be available for you in servers, right, section. This will be available for you. You can do that as well. Add Tomcat. Once after adding Tomcat, check port number is available or not. Check port 8080 is available or not. If not available, change it to something 9090 or anything between 8080 to 65535. Any number you can put between this. When not this 0, leave the reserved ports. Remaining all you can use 0 to 65535. Once done that, create web project. Just start server and check. If no issues, create dynamic web project. Once you create it, right, you will get this default structure here. First thing, you need to add your libraries. Jar files you need to add here. Spring Web jar files you need to add. How do I get them? Just to download your project here. Yeah, yeah. Next, all projects we do in Maven only. Okay. I need libraries. So, yes. Let me extract it. Okay. Web content, web enough, libs. Okay, add this library. Few libraries only adding web, webmvc, core, context, beans, logging file. Extra two jar files apart from iOS you are seeing is web and webmvc. Okay, add them into this lib section. Copy, paste. Okay, libraries are here. So why I need this library here means your dispatcher servlet is part of webjar file only. Without this webjar file, you can't get dispatcher servlet here. Even one set of library add to class path also. Lib path is for runtime. When you run it in Tomcat, right? Tomcat will read only that lib section. Adding library to class path. Do you know what it is? Adding them to class path. Usually we are adding, right, doing core examples. During core examples we were doing it, right? Not all the libraries required. Okay. 52. So that libraries will be available for my coding. Now here I need to configure one. Go to build path, configure build path, add external jars, go to the jar files location, select all the jars, click on open, that will add here. Okay, yeah, yes. Lib jar file added to class path also. Now welcome file is here. Yeah, we will talk about the libraries. Okay, I'll take you. So that is the basic thing. Create one index.html file. This is welcome file. So if you run project, right, any web project, the first file which used to load is index.html. Okay. As of now, I don't have any code. Now let's start with web.xml file. You need to configure a servlet here using servlet tag, and you need to put mapping using servlet mapping tag. So which request you need to map to the servlet as per this discussion? Which request need to map to your dispatcher servlet? Forms request. Every form request, all your forms request should go to dispatcher servlet first. Any form, whether it is your sign up form or login form or something CRUD operations forms we are submitting. Any form directly straight away it should hit your dispatcher servlet only. Any form. Servlet mapping section will help you to map your forms request to your dispatcher servlet. Here we configure dispatcher servlet. Here we put the map. Okay, let's configure first dispatcher servlet. Here we use servlet name, servlet class. So the predefined servlet is there inside your Spring library. So let's see the package name. We need dispatcher servlet, dispatcher servlet. It is available in this web jar file under web. Which package? Inside web. There is a servlet package, right? So go to web MVC jar file. Here you should have yeah org.springframework.web.servlet. Inside this you will be having dispatcher servlet. So this is the class that we use. This is already implemented. Maybe if you want to source code, use any source code converter and convert it. You can see the source code also. But for now, configure this dispatcher servlet. Complete path here. org.springframework.web.servlet.dispatcher servlet. So this servlet class is available. Who can call the servlet class means every front end request. Every front end request should be able to call this dispatcher servlet. So where do you configure that front end request to dispatcher servlet? Here using servlet name and URL pattern we configure it. Okay, URL pattern means I am putting here star dot star means any request with any extension dot html dot ds dot abc dot hts htp whatever it is or simple request. Any request should take it forward to my dispatcher servlet. Timing I'll put here star dot something RBU. I want to put some name here RBU. So any request which is contained .rbu extension, I'm asking to take it to dispatcher servlet. Where did you put this RBU to dispatcher servlet mapping? Nowhere. This servlet name and this servlet name, if it matches, then only this request will go here. So now put one name here, put one name here, something dispatcher, any name. Put the same name here. Or if you put RBU here, or if you put Praveen here, or if you put something Prem here, put the same name here. Maybe put your application name, okay? That makes sense. Student management system if you have, SMS if you call it. Put that SMS, student management system, your application name here. Bus. So your request, any front end request now it will map to dispatcher servlet. So the first task is completed. Any form to dispatcher servlet is mapped. Mapping. This is this is mapping. Actually, this is front end mapping. This is back end mapping. So from front end, I'm getting this request URL. This is URL. This is URL. Any URL which is coming with the .rbu extension, which means in front end, right? If I have my URL something like this while calling Ajax calls, right? Not here, right? Okay. So if I have some Ajax call here, this call may have extension manager.rbu. So any URL, the last extension is .rbu, and the before URL can be anything. Anything I'm mentioning it as star, which is a simple expression pattern. So anybody with the RBU extension will be mapped to this. How they will be mapped with this servlet name. This name matching. So this URL will go to this class. This is how servlets we map. When we have n number of servlet for n number of mappings, right? Based on the servlet name, it will understand this URL should go to which servlet. This is the mapping parameter. This name should match. If I put A here, which means who all request coming with dot RBU should go to this A named servlet. Like your bean ID, bean class you mentioned in XML file, right? Similar way. Okay. Mapping. Yeah, to map your request to this class. This is the mapping. This and this should match. So then the request will go to this controller. Mapping parameter. Okay. Exactly. But usually for Spring MVC applications, no more servlets we configure. Only one dispatcher servlet with one mapping URL pattern. In servlet programming, we used to write multiple servlets. There we used to do that. But now I don't need to write any servlets. One servlet is sufficient for my application. It will take care of any number of forms request which is coming from front end. Okay. Yet I don't have any form here. You can create a form also. Form action something slash say hello dot rbu. See, my form action also having dot rbu. Then only whichever form I am submitting here will go to front end. So back end. Input type text parameter name equal to name. So this parameter I want to submit to front end to back end. Input type submit value will say hello. So when I click on this button, whatever name I have entered here, that name will go to this action. So this action first it will go to which controller? This dispatcher servlet. Then this dispatcher servlet need a controller class from your end. You need to write a controller class. You need to write a controller class which handles that so and so request. Dispatcher servlet job is just it will forward that to you. So you need to write a class now here. Com dot rbu dot web. Here write your controller class. Okay, to say hello, hello controller. You need to implement your controller class from a controller interface. There is a controller interface. You need to implement your class from. This is old programmatic approach. Only for architecture understanding, I am giving this example. We will see completely in annotations. Okay, for your architecture understanding sake, I am giving it. So you need to implement one method handle request. So this is the method that I want to execute. This is the method that I want to execute when I get a request from front end. When I submit this button, I want to execute this class hello controller. So that my request will come here. Front end request will hit this method. How do you say that? Mapping required. Mapping required in Spring XML file. You have to do the mapping, otherwise you don't know. Mapping required in Spring XML file. What mapping? This front end to say hello to your controller mapping you need to do in Spring XML. So then only your request will come here. Okay, let's do that as well. You need to create Spring XML file here where web XML is for servlet. Spring XML is your iOS XML. Okay, web.xml for servlets concept. Servlet framework XML file that one is not yours. Servlets need web XML file similarly like how your IOC required Spring XML file. This is not yours. This is for servlets. Okay. So yeah, I would Yep, maybe you can assume that way. So yeah, to map all front ends to dispatcher servlet, web.xml will help. Web.xml file is the root file, the main root file which do the mapping, which mapping all front ends to dispatcher servlet. So its job, once the request come from any front end, it need to perform a job. For that, it needs your Spring XML file. So in Spring XML file, we do each URL to controller. Each URL to your controller, whatever controller you want. Specific. Each URL to specific controller, we do mapping via Spring XML file along with the beans. You can have your beans also, right? That is what we did so far. So that front end request will come to dispatcher servlet. From here, based on the Spring XML mapping, dispatcher servlet can understand and it redirects request to controllers. That is what we need to do. I have controller here, but the mapping is not yet created. So create one Spring XML file here. During Spring XML file creation, right? You need to use this naming convention. SMS name compulsory you should use here. You need to create a file SMS hyphen servlet.xml file. Whatever servlet name you have, right? If you have servlet name XYZ, create your Spring XML file with XYZ hyphen servlet.xml file. If you name it your name here, Naveen, you need to put Naveen hyphen servlet.xml. If it is your application name, application name. Anything. This is your Spring XML file. Okay. Now put all the mappings here. No, you should not. You need to follow that naming convention, or else there is one more approach. When you want to put your custom names, right? When you want to put your own custom names, there is one more style. We will see that later. Okay. For time being, remember that this name only you have to configure here for your Spring XML file. This is your pure Spring XML file. Okay. Now, what you need to do here first, you need to map your front end to your specific controller. So, what is my front end request? Say hello.rbu. Put the same thing here. Say hello.rbu. And what is your class? Hello controller, which is there in the package com.rbu.web. com.rbu.web.hello controller. So now Spring read this mapping from your dispatcher servlet, read this mapping from your Spring XML file and understands which controller should execute. So dispatcher servlet take forward your request to your controller. What you have inside this controller? A handle request method which used to read your data. Request dot get parameter of name. If I give my HTML parameter name here, it reads my name whichever submitting from there. I got my name here. So I'll do simple system.out.println name. Okay, what next? We will see what next is. Okay, first now understand mapping till here. Okay, I did mapping till here. Just comment everything. Front end to back end request mapping I have done so far. Now run your application. Right click, run as, run on server, Tomcat, next, hello world. Finish it. Application is started. Open this in your browser or use Eclipse browser itself. So now you can enter your fields here. You can enter your data here. Rajesh. Click on say hello. Okay. The request is submitted with the extra URL say hello dot rbu name equal to Rajesh. See whether that request printing your name. Yes. You got your request to backend. Name coming. Rajesh. So not only single field, any number of fields. Hmm. Nothing. No, usually, yeah, that is what I was saying, right? Only one method you can have. One method only you can have here. Not many methods. One controller, one method only. In programmatic case, right? Or else you can have any number of methods that you should handle if you remember your servlet sessions. Multiple forms to single servlet, how you used to map based on button names. No, no. Have you gone through servlet, generic servlet, HTTP servlets? Never tried? Hmm. Yeah. This Sunday, I'm not sure, but during weekdays only, 1 hour extra session. First, I'll put servlet session. Okay. This weekend, I'm tired actually. My huge office work also I have. I need to close it. Maybe shall we connect 1 hour extra during Monday session? I'll teach you servlet little bit. Okay. Maybe in Spring Boot, advanced programming servlet knowledge itself not required, but to understand internals, right? Now you are getting so much confusions here, how to map multiple methods and all. In servlets, we deal all that, stuff so that easily you can imagine in the background what's happening, how requests coming, how Tomcat helping you in the behind, how your data usually converting from form to request, what are the HTTP methods we have, what is protocol, those are the basic things that we learn. Or shall I schedule next weekend a full workshop, 2 days workshop, complete servlets, JSPs? Okay, we will see. Okay, anyway, basic idea I'll give you on servlets. At least 1 hour session should be sufficient. Okay, now imagine. Hmm, yeah. Yeah. So now for time being, understand only one method I can have here. One controller, one method. Okay, I'll show you one controller, multiple methods examples also. Yeah. Which XML? This XML file. Uh, so this is what mapping I have. Bean name. Bean in name place I put the URL here inside bean name place, and bean class your controller class only. Yeah. Till here, you guys clear, right? How the request coming to dispatcher select, and from here how it is picking up your controller by reading mapping from XML. I have form with action dot say hello dot rbu. So first this mapping understanding from web.xml file. In web.xml we configured something like this star dot anybody can hit. any URL who is having .rbu extension, please map to dispatcher servlet. That is how we configured it in web.xml file. So using web.xml file, your dispatcher servlet will able to get this request. So dispatcher servlet will getting request here. Just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah. So this request will come to dispatcher servlet, and this dispatcher servlet need to map your request to controller. That is what we implemented here. Hello controller. But where the mapping is exist for this hello controller means in your web.xml file. Sorry, in your Spring XML file, we created one XML file with the servlet name sms-servlet.xml file. Here we configured a bean with name, no ID. ID is not required here. Bean with name is your full URL slash say hello dot URL. So whoever requesting with say hello, map their request to a class hello controller. Who reads this? Dispatcher servlet reads this XML file and it understands the mapping. It loads into IOC. From IOC based on the request. When you submit this request, say hello here. From IOC, it will get bean by name. It will get your bean by name. Say hello dot rbu. Who is having this say hello dot rbu name? It will get. So obviously, it will get hello controller, right? It will call. This is internal mechanism. Your dispatcher servlet will call by substituting this URL here. It will get your bean, hello bean. No, similar to that, not ID. You need to use name. Then it will call h dot hello controller dot handle request. It will call handle request method by passing the request and response objects. You need not to do this stuff. This is handled by dispatcher server. For every request, it will get your bean based on the name, and it will call handle request method of your controller. So that when you submit a request, the request safely it will go to your controller. Till here, are you guys clear? Front end to controller. Hmm. No, URL itself you can put for your bean name. Okay, URL only you can put it in your bean name. Yeah. Hmm. Ah, component scan. Yeah, component scan will do that stuff. Even for controller also, this line also we will be avoiding it. So first for architecture understanding, I given this programmatic way of configuration. So easily you can understand the architecture. Later I will avoid this also. I'll shift this mapping to annotation only. This mapping I can remove here. I can straight away put it in my controller itself. So that zero code you can see in XML. Nothing required. Just component scan will go to classes via annotations also. This mapping we do. But to make you sure, right, the I may say architecture understanding, I'm going with this programmatic style. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You guys clear, right? Yes? No? Okay. Okay. So I have only one parameter, so I am reading it there. Let's say if I add more parameters here along with the name, I'll be adding email and address. Can I read these parameters also? Yeah, you can read them. Name, email, address. So this request dot get parameter will give you form data, whatever data you submit from there. Name, email, address. Okay, it must reloads. So go to your form, refresh it. Okay, label name's not changed. Email address. So you can pass data here. So my form submitted. I can able to see the data. Name, email, address. We are seeing one way only. We are seeing one way only from this example. From front end to back end only we saw. Okay, tomorrow I'll show you how to get response from back end to front end also. Okay, this flow only we did one at a time. Yeah. We see only forward flow today. Okay, tomorrow we'll see the backward flow also from back end to front end also. We'll see tomorrow. This direction also we should see. Okay, that we will see tomorrow session. Okay, we are just done with forward flow. Response flow we will see. Yeah, you want to see controller? Predefined override, right? It is there in parent class interface. This method it is mandatorily asking you to implement. You can have any number of helper methods here, method A, method B, method C. But finally, for your request, it executes this method only. O- Only handle request method. No other methods will be called by dispatcher servlet. And class can have any number of methods, but dispatcher servlet doesn't touch that methods. Maybe your helper methods you can have. A class can have any number of methods, right? You may have your helper methods, but not. Hmm, hmm. I think create a simple Maven project and make it as a var kind of thing. Finally, it generates var after build, and you can deploy that var. No, in Maven configuration itself, we can put it in dynamic web project with the Maven. No, no. Somehow we can do it. I I have used Maven we used that used to build and bring it into web structure only. Web with Maven we can do. I'll find it out. Okay. Simple Maven also we can use, and we can generate where and deploy, and with the web structure also we can do that. We can get. Okay. We can do with the dynamic web project also. I don't remember how we handle it. We used with Maven only. All the dependencies with Maven and dynamic web project we have done. I will check that. Okay. Yeah. So for that's it. We'll see this response flow, and then we will jump into annotations tomorrow. So once you understand front end to back end to front end, right? It will be easy to you to understand the full architecture. Once done with this backward flow also, I'll explain what are all helper classes here helping out to map our request to front end to back end to front end. Okay, maybe in interviews will be asked MEC architecture, MEC architecture flow. Okay, yeah. If no questions, okay, I'll be closing it for today. Yeah. No, no. Yeah, I'm literally busy this weekend, and Vinayak emergency also happens right this weekend. Full busy. Next from next week onwards, we'll spend good time. Okay, we need a lot of time to cover boot and actual examples we are jumping in right end to end. So yeah, we will spend weekends also. Mm-hmm. I didn't get you. Mm-hmm. These are important. Yeah, usually more focus is on MEC and Spring Boot questions. Nowadays, nobody going to Spring Framework. Okay, if they ask you what is auto wiring, they might ask. They may not even touch what is JDBC, what is WAR, and if they are old guys, right, they might ask you how you will integrate WAR with the uh, framework. What is AOP? What are all the advices? Yeah. Otherwise, more focus is on Spring Boot, and people may or must ask MEC architecture. Okay, what is MEC architecture? How request and response flow used to happen? Yes. Why can't you? You can use anything. JDBC you can use. What? Hmm. No, not particularly, because all design patterns used in Spring. So that itself may take 2 3 months if I start discussion. No, actually, if we start to cover it, everything we can cover. Uh, um, See, I can't, go to one two patterns and close it. Right? If you want, I'll explain you front controller pattern. That is one important thing. But again, it will put a lot of confusions on your brain. I don't want to create that confusions. Mainly, my focus is you need to cover this complete content, and you should understand what these modules are doing, how they are fit in application. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'll take note of it, okay. But really during regular sessions I don't want disturb by again putting a lot of confusion with patterns, okay. All may not digest everything at a time. So this is a simple pattern I took to teach here. So everybody should get the knowledge on each module, okay. Same equal understanding. Mm. Uh, of course, yeah, IOC is using singleton pattern, prototype pattern, right? JDBC is using object pool design pattern. Connection pool we use, right? That is object pool design pattern. And connection pool design pattern also there. So that all patterns will help you to create your own pools or your own, similar architectures. That's where frameworks came for you to overcome that challenges. Frameworks usually says what, you don't worry about patterns. All best practices, best patterns I used, I given it for you. You just use it. Otherwise, to achieve the same, you should have good enough design patterns knowledge, and you need to spend years together time to implement them. But they made it free to us and given. Just we need to learn how to use them. Yeah, yeah. As part of core module, we discussed about IOC. IOC is one topic. Container. Spring Web. Okay. Webflux. Okay. Okay. Hmm. Oh, ping me in WhatsApp. Earlier, you two more topics you given, right? Mhm. Okay. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Sure. Hmm. Yeah, this will be available, okay, by noon or evening. Okay. Yeah. Examples are already there, okay. Please go through them. Download MVC first example and try to do step by step just by looking into the video, okay. Else if you got any doubts, just download this first example and see the code, okay. Yeah, that's it for today. We'll meet tomorrow, and make sure that download software first and do it. If you are not able to do this, let me know. Not tomorrow, Monday. So do this first, okay. If you see any issues, let me know. I'll help you to install Tomcat, okay. But make sure everybody should run this first example. At least till now you practiced or not, but starting from today, right? You need to practice each example, okay. So you need to run and realize. You need to do some customizations also on top of it. Okay. So please do it. If you see any doubts, right? Uh, Weekends also, right? You can ping me. It will be available. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.